Are you already planting the seeds for the next crossover event, for if it's Secret Wars or what? Like, does Phase 4 start to plant the seeds for whatever we're going to see? Because we obviously saw Thanos, the whole Infinity Saga, the seeds were planted way early on.
Yes. We debated what we should announce today. Should we announce 4 and 5? We've planned them out. We've got 5 years down the road. And I was like, I think 11 projects in 2 years is plenty, having not mentioned anything for two or 3 years.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. This is going to be my video all about Spider-Man 3, Marvel Phase 4, Phase 5, and the next big Avengers movie. Because as Kevin Feige implies, it's all building towards another really big event, quote unquote, but a lot of you are wondering why there's no Spider-Man 3 on the Marvel Phase 4 schedule. There's a really good reason for that. We'll break it all down, but we're still doing that Avengers Endgame Blu-ray giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your best Spider-Man 3 theory on the video. So you all saw the big Marvel Phase 4 Comic-Con panel. Kevin Feige made all these announcements. He announced 10 big projects between movies and TV shows during Marvel Phase 4 over the span of the next 2 years, but he did not say anything about the Spider-Man character or Spider-Man crossing over with any of the other characters or appearing on any of the TV shows or anything about him being in the next Avengers film. So there were a lot of people after the panel that were scratching their heads just wondering, is there no Spider-Man movie going to be happening in the next 2 years? Is it going to take 3 years to get to the next film? What's going on? Yes, it's true. During all those interviews and during the panel, Kevin Feige never said the words Spider-Man 3 once. But in that clip that I put at the beginning of this, a lot of you probably picked up that Kevin Feige said that they announced 11 projects in the next 2 years, but there are only 10 things on the Marvel Phase 4 schedule. So as you all probably suspected, that 11th secret project that he maybe accidentally mentioned, or maybe he totally did it on purpose, is Marvel's Spider-Man 3. Sony has a very predictable release schedule for their solo Spider-Man films, once every 2 years on a 4th of July weekend. You can set your clocks by it, but recently the reason why people started to get nervous around Spider-Man Far From Home is because there was a story going around a few weeks ago about some very questionable terms in the Marvel and Sony sharing contract for the Spider-Man character. We know the terms were that Marvel gets to use the character in 5 of its films. It gets to produce the solo Spider-Man films. Sony gets to keep all the box office profits. They don't get any of the merchandising though. That's all the toy sales, the comic book sales, which usually ends up being more than the actual box office. Rule of thumb, Star Wars style, is that you earn way more money on the toys than you do on the actual movies. The 5 films on the contract were Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. A lot of people just assumed that after that 5th movie their contract was up, they would have to re-sign their sharing arrangement to continue using the Spider-Man character in the MCU. Here's the thing though, the reason why everyone was triggered a couple weeks ago is because someone was reporting a rumor that the actual terms of the contract were that if Spider-Man Far From Home did not earn $1 billion, then Marvel would not be able to make Spider-Man 3. Sony would take the character back and they would do whatever they wanted to with him. Either they would make Spider-Man 3 or they would try to put him in all the Tom Hardy Venom movies like we assume that they're going to try to. People ask Kevin Feige at the premiere of Spider-Man Far From Home, will Sony eventually try to cross over with the Venom character? And he says yes, they definitely plan to do that at some point. Wasn't really a huge shocker to hear him confirm that. Yes, eventually Sony does want to have a Spider-Man versus Venom movie or Spider-Man team-up movie with Venom. But if Marvel lost the rights to the character after Far From Home, then that meant no Spider-Man in Secret Wars. Sony would have to find some lame way of giving him the symbiote. Even though I'm very excited about them doing a Spider-Man crossover in a maximum Carnage movie for whatever 3rd Venom movie that they wind up doing, if that trilogy builds up to its own Infinity War level event, of course it would probably be maximum Carnage. But whether or not you believe the rumor about the $1 billion contract, something really cool happened just last week during Comic-Con. As you all probably saw, Spider-Man Far From Home made over $1 billion at the box office. So whether or not you believe that $1 billion stipulation, it doesn't matter because the movie earned over $1 billion, meaning that Marvel would have the rights to make Spider-Man 3. They would still need to re-sign their sharing arrangement, which they've probably already done. They all probably expected Spider-Man Far From Home to earn over $1 billion. So a lot of this was probably decided on a long time ago. They just couldn't make it public because it was all secret. They had to wait till it actually made $1 billion to say anything about it. But if everything's good, you ask, why isn't it on the schedule for Marvel Phase 4 if it's going to be happening summer 2021? The real reason why Kevin Feige hasn't said anything about it, and the reason it's not on that schedule, is mostly because Sony still technically owns the rights to the character. Even though Marvel makes all the Spider-Man movies, Sony releases them in theaters, so it will be Sony to make the Spider-Man 3 announcement saying, we're working on it, it's coming out 4th of July weekend, 2021. And the other really good news is because Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, the director, were talking about Spider-Man 3 separately at the Far From Home premiere. We already know a lot of details about what they planned for that film. So quick top 5 Spider-Man 3 details rundown. Number 5, Spider-Man 3 will take place during Marvel Phase 4, and because of the original idea of the movies following him through high school, Harry Potter style, in 2 years when the movie comes out, he would be in his last year of high school getting ready to graduate. The movies have been about him maturing from a more Spider-Boy to a fully actualized Spider-Man, science bro, self-sufficient, making his own suits, even if he's using Iron Man technology. Usually high school graduation is around the time where most kids are viewed by the law as adults because you're 17, 18 years old. Because of that shitstorm of the post-credit scene, thank you very much J. Jonah Jameson and Mysterio for outing him as Spider-Man. He now has very adult problems to deal with in that third film. 4, you ask who the main villain is going to be. At the premiere, the director was saying that he wanted to use Kraven the Hunter. He's one of the few core Spider-Man villains and OG Sinister 6 villains that they haven't done in any Spider-Man movie yet. And way back during Spider-Man Homecoming days, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal said the big thing with all their new Tom Holland Spider-Man films is that the whole idea was that they would do stories that have never been done before on screen and characters that we've never seen before. 3, you ask, what about a Sinister 6 team-up? Wouldn't that be the coolest way to end an MCU Spider-Man trilogy? And I say, yes, of course, it would be awesome to see Sinister 6. It definitely seems like they have plans for that at some point. They have enough characters to build themselves a Sinister 6 between Vulture, all the Spider-Man Homecoming villains that are still alive, and all the people that they would introduce in the next film. But at the rate they're actually pacing these solo Spider-Man movies out, it still feels like they're going at a snail's pace. Like Spider-Man 3 is going to be a movie with one main villain and a couple of Easter eggs, maybe a post-credit scene setting up Sinister 6 at the end for whatever next Spider-Man trilogy that they do.
I will find a cure. I will.
Number 2, the next trilogy. What are you talking about? Tom Holland's current contract right now only goes through Spider-Man 3. He said a long time ago that he wants to stick around and continue playing the character for a long, long time. And because they started when Tom Holland was a little kid, he'll still be in his 30s if he sticks around for another 10 years. That's still a very young version of adult Spider-Man. There were a lot of reports on the internet a while ago that Sony had plans for 9 more Spider-Man films. I think that's an exaggeration, but yes, they definitely want an adult Spider-Man trilogy after they finish this high school trilogy. Imagine a trilogy of movies with Spider-Man working his way through college at Empire State University. In number 1, as you all probably wondered, J. Jonah Jameson is going to come back in a bigger way for Spider-Man 3. They didn't say whether he would be a main antagonist, but he will be coming back and he will have more scenes than he had in Spider-Man Far From Home. His crusade to destroy Peter Parker and Spider-Man's life as much as possible is only beginning.
I want Spider-Man!
If you didn't see it, there was a really cool clip of Sam Raimi's reaction to that post-credit scene. He says something really interesting during this too.
Did you know this was happening in advance? Were you given a heads up?
Yes, I was. JK called me. I guess I'm spoiling it now. So JK called me and said, hey, they're talking to me about reprising my role. What do you think? I said, with all my greatest blessings, because I love Spider-Man and I love JK and I'd love to see more of him.
So you take the pictures, I'll make up the headlines, okay? All right? That okay with you?
Yes, sir.
So if it wasn't clear, Sam Raimi has been a big fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man film and all the things that they've done with the new Spider-Man films. But I love the idea that J.K. Simmons called him up to ask for his blessing in reprising the character, even though technically it's a slightly different version of J. Jonah Jameson. Also thinking about the future, you probably saw Amy Pascal teasing Sony had started workshopping ideas for a live-action Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie at some point, but that would be separate. I don't know that that would be a Marvel Spider-Man film. That would probably be on Sony to do something like that themselves. Whatever your fantasy pick of a Spider-Man movie is, they probably have plans to do it at some point with Tom Holland's character. And I know a lot of you are thinking about that clip with Kevin Feige at the beginning of the video. Wait a minute, he's talking about Avengers 5. What's going on with that? I will do a new Avengers 5 Marvel Phase 5 video because that's when the next Avengers movie is going to happen. Also really good Venom news, it seems like Tom Hardy recently confirmed Andy Serkis would be directing the Venom vs. Carnage sequel this fall, but Sony will probably make an announcement about that sometime soon. Congratulations to Sean McVeigh, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Everybody click here for my Thor 4 Love and Thunder teaser video, and click here for my Shang-Chi Iron Man teaser. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.